Welcome to Gen X TrustFall, the podcast dedicated to planned and unplanned midlife changes and the ability to trust in the unknown. I'm Carla Loomis. Gen Xers are facing issues of retirement, menopause, boomerang children, and grandparenting. Additionally, while juggling these things, many of us are helping to navigate end-of-life issues for our boomer parents. Sometimes it all feels like too much. My three guests this week have dealt with caretaking of their parents at different stages. Vanessa Graziano talked with me about moving her parents in and out of care facilities before, during, and after the COVID disaster. James Clifford described the process of caretaking with his siblings and rediscovering his mother during her last days. Ivy Villegas, possibly the bravest of all, moved in with her elderly parents and continues to help care for her 101-year-old mother. If you're feeling overwhelmed or frustrated by an elderly parent, you're in good company. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoy. I think it's a lot easier when your parents are not around to talk about it, about the insanity that you go through as an adult child with your parent. So anyway.
And I'm not sure if I have like a particular one, although I'm sure I do that I just can't remember.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of reflecting on that whole period of time and thinking of how I remember a friend who's like 10 years older than me saying, oh, the 50s are not for wimps. And I'm like, whatever, ha ha ha. I was in my 40s. And then sure enough, like the 50s hit and you're taken all of a sudden. Well, it's not even all of a sudden. It was kind of gradual that you started taking on more responsibility with your parents. But oh my God, then you get to this point where it's like, oh yeah. I mean, this is very cliche, but oh yeah, now I'm the adult in the room and they're the toddler.
Yes.
And so I remember like anytime we were going out to doctor's appointments or going to be out for a lot of the day, you know, you had to make sure you packed snacks.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
like you planned bathroom breaks.
Yes.
And you didn't do too much all at once. And you made sure to get home in time where like mom could take a nap. And not having children, like I'd never gone through that experience before. So I was like, what is going on here? So that I think was very eye-opening. And I shared the responsibility with three other sisters. So like lucky me that we got to do that all together, or three girls, right? Or four girls doing it all together.
Yes.
But even then, you know, there was arguments between the four of us, right? As to, you know, one person wanted to control things, or we all thought it should be a different way. So there's just like all the family dynamics come out.
Yes.
Which is really pretty.
It definitely is. I've noticed in my family, the birth order is extremely evident in
Absolutely.
glaringly apparent who's the oldest and who's the youngest. And I have three brothers, so they have been great with all of it. I cannot complain, but there are some things that my brothers are absolutely not going to do, right, with my mom, for sure, which I don't blame them because I wouldn't want to do it with my dad. So I totally get that. But yeah, the dynamic of the adult children's interesting. And the doctor's appointments, oh boy. Very interesting. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Do you have one in particular that you want to talk about?
I think I can really think of a particular doctor's appointment. There was just so many. Obviously, it was so important for one of us to be there because early on we didn't. And we'd be like, okay, how was your doctor's appointment? And oh, everything's fine. Everything's good.
Yes.
Like my mom had breast cancer a while ago. This is before we were even taking care of her. And I remember her coming back from that appointment saying, well, she said I just had one cancer cell.
Mm-hmm.
Just one.
Mm-hmm.
And like minimized everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we never like got the full story.
Right. Yes.
But
had you had teenagers, this would be a very familiar experience.
Mm-hmm.
Very familiar. I'm so glad I had teenagers and that I am a teacher and taught teenagers for years because I can spot a lie adult or child from a mile away. And it's like deja vu. Oh my gosh, I'm dealing with my 15-year-old child right now. Only it's an 85-year-old adult. And they're lying to me right to my fucking face.
And it's so surreal because it's like your parents who you depended on them to give you the straight scoop on everything and, give advice to you or whatever. And now you're like, no, that's not true.
That's not true.
Only is it not true, you're making things up and making it harder for us now.
Yes.
It's insane.
Yes. I've been at the doctor's office where this person was answering the doctor's questions and I'm behind them shaking my head. Just not true. Absolutely not true. And the doctor, they must know, right? Did the doctors that you went to, did they kind of give you that look like, yeah, I know?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
And they were, right. Thank goodness for those people because they've been around the block. But yeah, you're right. I think I tried to be a little softer, like, no, Mom, what you had said to me last week was, and that's a little different than what you just said. And then she downplayed that. Oh, well,
Right.
I was just tired that day. I don't know. The thing with my taking care of my parents, we had kind of a unique situation in that the brunt of all of it happened kind of during COVID.
Oh, gosh.
They lived in the same house for like 45 years, and we begged them to move closer to all of us. And finally, after 10 years of begging them, they did. And so there was several years that they were in independent living in a retirement community, and that was all good and fine. But then my mom, her dementia started advancing, and so it was time to move into assisted living.
Right.
And that went pretty smoothly. And they were there about a year and a half. And then in February of 2020, and my dad didn't need it. He was totally, sharp and everything. And my mom was declining. But then in February of 2020, my mom died. And they were living in assisted living because of her. And then just like within a week, my mom she just declined and she passed away. It was the end of February of 2020. And then, of course, right, middle of March, everything changed.
Right.
And here it is. My dad he just lost his wife of 60 years.
Yes.
He's living in assisted living and we can't go visit him.
Yeah.
And so we were doing the whole like window visits and he was very isolated. And it was crazy for everybody, but we're like, oh my God, we can't leave him there. He doesn't need to be there. So the facility gave people like a 3-day period to decide if you're going to leave your loved ones there or not. We pulled him out and he lived with my sister for a month, which was its own loveliness. I'm sure she has a lot of stories about that. And then we quickly realized that was not sustainable. So he at this point is 93 years old.
Whoa.
And he said, I want to go back to independent living. And we're like, no, you can't. Like, no way. So he wore us down and we moved him back in independent living because at least then we could go see him. It was like his own little house.
Yeah.
But then we had to bring in people to help and people to cook. We had 4 cameras in his house so that we could watch him everywhere except the bathroom. And then it was a good decision to do that, but it was like 2 years of managing that. And, he couldn't drive anymore. And what we all laughed about was my mom used to always say, oh, he's the biggest pain in the ass. But we would always blame it on her because she was a hard Italian woman, man. She was like the typical, and we're like, right. Well, what we did find out, he was a pain in the ass.
Right. She wasn't lying about that.
She was not.
Both things can be true. A hard-ass Italian woman and a pain in the ass.
Yes. So it was a hard 2 years. It was a hard 2 years for everybody during COVID. But during that time and like trying to keep our dad safe and, managing all of our demanding jobs and that's my sisters had kids too that they were managing and in some cases grandkids. And so it's that typical, right? You're trying to manage everything all at once.
Yeah.
And I remember, yelling at my dad one time. I mean, we yelled at him a lot and I feel terrible about that, but he took it all in stride because he would say things like, well, okay, you know, can you help me get the blah, blah? I'm like, yeah, Dad, I can do that on Saturday. Okay, no rush, no rush. That was his typical no rush. And then like 2 hours later, he'd call me. Well, did you get that thing done?
Oh,
And so I remember yelling at him saying, Dad, you never had to take care of older parents when you were working. And, you know, you had a wife who was doing everything for you. So there was a lot of that stuff. But I think when I look back, it was divinely guided that my mom died right before COVID because we would not have been able to move him out of assisted living. They would have both had to stay there. That would have been so much harder.
yeah.
So I kind of feel like in a way she knew, oh, it's coming and I'm not sticking around for this. And then my dad, so he lived in independent living for like 2.5 years. And he got to the point where we're like, okay, you need to go to assisted living now. He's 95 at this point. And he reluctantly agreed. Like we had to work on him. He reluctantly agreed because mentally he was super sharp still. But his, you know, body was just failing. We moved him on a Saturday. You know, we packed everything up, got the movers. We moved him into the same apartment he lived in with my mom, where my mom died. We were able to move him back to the exact same place.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on a Saturday. We were exhausted. You know, we're all packing up and moving. We got the whole thing, his whole apartment set up exactly how it was with the pictures on the wall, right? They say with seniors, try to make everything look the same. Got everything done. On Sunday, he says to me and my sister, I think I'm ready. I'm like, what do you mean, Dad? Ready for what? I think I'm ready to die now.
Oh,
And 3 days later, he died.
whoa. That's incredible.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, great. But why did we have to move you? Couldn't you have just stayed there for 5 more days and just died in that place? I think what we ultimately ended on is I think he saw my mom die in that place. Like he died in the same room that she died in. I think he wanted to be like on a subconscious level, be where she was when she died. He could see, because he was really afraid of dying and see that, oh, it can be okay because I saw all of us care for my mom through that time.
Right.
So in a way it was kind of beautiful, but also like, are you kidding me? We just spent like the last 2 weeks packing you up, moving you, getting everything set up. And 24 hours later, you tell us you're ready to die. So I think that's my funniest story about caring for older parents, really the end of both of their lives.
Yeah. I really want to do it better. I don't have my plan yet, you know, of how to do it better than.
Do you want to do it better, like for you? Are your parents still with you?
Yes, they are. But it hasn't been an easy road. Let me just put it that way. And for my kids, well, plus I have boys. I cannot expect, one, I will not do that to them, but two, I can't expect a lot. So I really need to, you know, have a plan, have it in place, tell them this is what I want. You know, it needs to be very clear because, you know, my son's married, but she has her own parents. So I really don't want that. You know, maybe I'll have a granddaughter someday, but I don't know. I don't know. Boys, it's a different mentality, I think, you know? And so.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a generational thing too. Like, I don't know how your parents are, but mine were definitely like, oh, we're never going to go to a home and you girls will just take care of us. I mean, they had 4 girls, so I'm sure they had high expectations. But, you know, what a gift for your kids to say, I want to have a plan, and for them to know.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this, what to say in this conversation with you about this topic. I mean, I recently just had to go to the doctors with my father, and with my mom, who's passed away, my whole family, we really had a good plan. So I'm the oldest of 7. There's 6 boys and 1 girl in my family. And my parents, when my mother was, I think, of sound mind and body before COVID, they didn't tell us anything about their health. Everything was always fine. Everything's great. Everything's this. Then right before COVID. My mom asked me and my brother Mark to go to her house, which just never happens, right? We're always in and out of that house. For her to ask for us to go over there. And we got there and she told us that she was sick without anything. I mean, that was it. I'm just sick. I had a bad doctor's appointment, sort of a thing. Nothing to worry about. But like in the spirit of my mother, she was more concerned that nobody else know. Right. So everything was very secretive, which is really kind of odd to me. So anyways, we kind of didn't do much. Right. I mean, there was nothing to do. COVID was happening. And then after COVID, we went over my parents, all their legal stuff. Right. And there was an issue around HIPAA. So what they could and couldn't say, who could and couldn't know, and things like that. And so I kind of got a glimpse into stuff, but it was still really super secretive. My only sister was living with them before COVID. And I think that the plan was to just let her handle it. And then my sister and her family moved, and my mother had to come up with a different plan. But again, we only saw glimpses of anything. And that it was really only me at this time. I think she had kind of disconnected my brother from it and brought in my third brother, Paul, to see their finances. So it was very passive, but I was more or less tasked with their medical stuff. And Paul and I kind of formed a team. That's when I started taking my mom to the doctors. And I got to tell you, Carla, I'm not sure if I really knew my mom before. You take someone to the doctors, it's totally intimate.
Yes.
Right? You're just let in on everything. So now I'm on the HIPAA. I can sign for them, all their pharmaceuticals, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to the doctors. And I bring my mother and my father to the doctors together for my mom. As far as my dad's fine.
Right.
What's going on, right? He's totally awesome. We go to my mom's doctor, and I come to find out my mom's, she's got an iron deficiency in her blood. It's essentially terminal. She's going to need transfusions. I mean, it just be massive thing, man. Right. And she's telling me there's nothing wrong. And if you could talk to her, there really wasn't. She didn't seem like there was anything wrong, right? But what my brothers and I got onto was we got onto a schedule where I would take her to her appointments. The sister-in-laws made dinners. We had no idea how long this was going to last. This is the beginning of about a 3-year sojourn. But taking him to the doctors, it was a scream because everything was fine, always fine. And my mother could still play the piano. She was still intellectually together. She read a lot. She was involved in women's groups. She really had a lot of stuff going on. So at the beginning of this, it was just me going to the doctors. That was it. And then somewhere in line, my father had a major fall. Okay, so now my dad has this big old fall, right, where he loses a ton of blood. He has to go in the hospital. Thank goodness one of my children was there, Brian, to call the fire department. This is where things kind of amplify. Because my mother, for whatever reason, she was using the remote as a phone. Okay. I mean, we realized at this point something's going on. So now we got to deal with my father. We get caretakers in. We have to interview a slew of caretakers to find some good ones, which we did. The number of doctor's visits goes up, right? And it becomes more dicey. So now I'm learning about her disorder. I'm trying to communicate that to my mom and to my dad. And my dad is not dismissive, but he's kind of overly optimistic. My mom starts slowing down in the second year. She's still mobile. And my brothers and I have got a schedule where we always go in for some period of time in addition to the caregivers. And my son, Brian, was doing the overnights. I mean, we had this thing covered, right? Until my dad had a second fall and lost a massive amount of blood. Had to go into kind of a recovery home for a week. So now we've got my dad's health stuff, right? And we're trying to juggle this. And I kind of filed that away and said, well, My mom is the more pressing, and she has to get transfusions, and you can plot the time between transfusions is an indicator of how bad things are getting. Okay. And they were getting kind of bad, and still nobody knew. She swore us to secrecy.
Oh, my God.
Parts of my whole family didn't know what was going on. And my mother and father, they're both educated people, but I just don't think they have a really good understanding of biology, of medicine, and they have a crazy faith in a doctor. To ask a follow-up question would be unheard of. It's disrespectful. How could you do that? I mean, it's nuts. I have some experience in this field. Of course, I'm going to ask follow-up questions. And there's animosity, and how could you treat the doctor this way? I'm going, I don't know. I just want to make sure that we're getting the best possible treatment for you. So my mom had kind of a long period where she kind of was in maintenance. She was holding it together. And so the doctor's visits, which were many, were just a time where we were kind of hanging out in the doctor's office. And it was really one of the first times in my life that I spent a prolonged period of time just with my mom. My mom has 7 kids. I'm the oldest. The top 4 of us were out of the house pretty early. There's a big spread in ages. And as a consequence of me sitting there just in waiting rooms with her, I kind of felt like I got to know her. I don't want to speak for all my brothers, but I really do think that the last 2 years of my mom's life were probably the best years for us as kids. I feel like we got to know her, keeping in mind that trying to interpret what the doctor's saying, assess the severity, and then having to comfort her. You know, there was a time when there was just no more optimism. The doctor's reports, they were in decline, and we had to make a decision. The actual transfusions were really time-consuming for her. I don't think that they were not without pain. And she was bruising up. We had to make a call, and we got first involved with palliative care, which is, I wasn't taking her to the doctors at this point. They were coming to the house, and we had to go through like a interview process. And I became aware that my parents just did not know that much about health. My mother at that point, we had to be honest, right? So the nurses, the occupational therapist, the physical therapist, the nurse, the attending physicians, there's a big binder you got to fill out, and you have to be honest. And when they'd ask my parents a question, it's still to this day with my dad, nothing's wrong. Well, then what are we doing here?
Right.
You know, nothing's wrong. I'm fine. They were so good, even now, at distracting the professionals. My mother would say stuff like, oh, I've got a big family, and this is my oldest. He's a this, and that. And I've got 2 sons that are police officers, and I've got a son that is a Catholic school teacher, and my daughter lives in Idaho, and just all this stuff that had nothing to do with anything, but it got them off topic, and I'd have to constantly redirect them. I go, Mom, we have to tell these people the truth. Right. Well, I'm fine. For a stretch of time, we actually were sleeping there. One of us would sleep in the house because at the very beginning, they live in Redwood City, and we thought that the house had been broken into. And my 2 brothers that are police officers, my youngest brother, he's a policeman in San Francisco, and he really handled this. He went over there. The police from Redwood City came. They did a report. As time went on, we realized the break-in was from the inside out, not the outside in. My mom was getting out.
No.
Now we're panicked. Things are missing in the house. Over a year's time, somewhere at my parents' house, there's a hole that my mom dug when somebody just slept for 15 minutes. She must have had a backhoe or something because just everything was missing. I was there recently, and I was going to clean up some stuff, and I had to reach to the top of this shelf. My mother was a small woman, right? Yeah. I'm pretty tall. I had to reach to the top of this shelf. I had to step on my tippy toes. I pulled out a bunch of my mom's dresses.
Oh, my God.
Somehow she got them in the back. I don't know what she was doing, but anyways, we had to tell the palliative care team that my mom she was up all night. I don't know what it's like to be that close to death, but my mom started talking about it. And we talked about it with the doctors, and she still passed the intelligence test almost up to the end. But I think there was a certain degree of panic. I spent a lot of time with her just trying to chill her out, right? And she felt so responsible, like for my father. She did my parents' taxes in like, I don't know, she died in January. She did the taxes in December in preparation. So my father wouldn't be burdened with them. The woman was going to die, you know, I mean, come on. I mean, she was just amped, right? So anyways, we went to the doctors kind of in the middle of all this, and the writing was on the wall. Instead of the transfusions being like, say, once a month, they were getting to like once a week or something.
Yeah.
It was really kind of nasty. And the doctor said to me, and my mother, she just couldn't hear it. She didn't understand the ramifications, but we started talking about hospice at that visit. So I signed him up for that. And on the way home, it was just me and her, and we stopped down the street from where they live. And I pulled over and I said, we can't hide this. We have to tell people. And she looked at me and that look of, holy crap, that it's over. Some of my siblings didn't know. I go, you got to tell them, because my mom was still with it. So if anybody, you know, if you want to spend time with people, so we were just prepping for that period of time that she had left where she could still hold a conversation and stuff like that. And it transitioned from having to go to the doctor's office to the care was brought in. And the palliative care, the hospice care was tremendous. And my mom would still say she was fine. And my dad, well, you know how parents are, right? My mother, during the last 2/3 of this thing, we were with her preparing for her nurse to come in, you know, from the healthcare system. My mom just looked at me, started crying. She goes, why doesn't he come to the meetings too? And then I had to kind of manage my parents' marriage for the last,
exactly.
like, holy crap, man, I don't want to know about this, but you got to do what you got to do. I really think we did a great job with my mom, but everything you learned about death and kind of going through that with your parent and going to the doctors and managing the illness and all that stuff and the caregivers, none of it generalizes at all. It's so unique to the individual. So when my father now, who's 89, his brain is good. He's not very mobile. He has edema, and we were in and out of the hospital. Like we have frequent flyer miles there, and having to interpret for him.
Right.
Because he'll sit there and tell the doctors, I'll do it. Like, get salt out of the diet. Of course I'm going to get salt out of the diet.
Yes.
Yeah, really? Because you're eating like a 4-year-old. Come on. I mean, it's just crazy. So, and we had a doctor, a dietitian, a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, and a social worker in that room. He was in the hospital just 2 weeks ago for 5 days.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was fine. There was nothing wrong with it.
Of course. Why was he even there?
He urinated like 40 pounds of urine.
Oh, God.
I go, Dad, that's why we're here. So a big part of taking your parent to the doctors is when they took their children to the doctors, their children were healthy.
Right. That's true.
Hey, we're going to go for your booster shot, or we're going to go, you know,
that's a good point.
For that stuff. You're taking them to the doctors because
there's a problem.
There's a problem. Nobody's going to the doctors for shits and giggles. My father, who had his edema got really bad 2 weeks ago, took him into the hospital. He was admitted, and I'll never forget it because the look on his face was like a little kid. He goes, am I going to get better?
Oh,
right. And I'm like, no, we just want you to live. No. But this isn't, there's no pill for aging, right?
I know.
So let's just make this as good as possible. Okay. And he goes, well, am I going to be able to get rid of my walker? Well, if you want to die. Sure. I mean, and my siblings, I don't know, maybe I kind of think they look at me cross-eyed because you got to be very overt with them. With my mother, you could be subtle. My mother could read between the lines. You could kind of get it. She had this massive social awakening late in the illness where she became kind of really cool. And my father, on the other hand, you got to be really direct. I mean, we just got him out of the hospital. We had him over at my house, and he doesn't want to use his walker. I go, Dad, just for today. Today, I don't want today to be the day you die. So let's be cool. And I don't want to have to yell. I don't want the last thing that's in your ear before you die to be me yelling at you.
Right.
So let's just agree that today we're going to use the walker, okay? Because the walker shouldn't be the biggest thing in your life.
I mean, how lucky are you that you have one, right? Think about if, a caveman walking around, they're going to leave you under the tree. You can't keep up with everybody. Hey, we're kind of lucky that we live here in this time period. Use what we got.
Oh my God, of course. But he has an idea in his head. The guy was born in the 1930s that when you go to the doctors, they're going to give you a pill and you're going to get better.
Yes.
And that works. I told him when he was looking at me on that Sunday evening in the hospital, I said, Dad, you didn't do anything to cause any of this other than you just got old. And he's the oldest living Clifford ever. Okay, so, hey, hats off.
Yeah,
right?
Good job.
I mean,
yes.
Good job. So when the doctor comes in, he makes inappropriate comments. My mother never would do that. My father's like, they were putting a catheter in him, and you would have thought that it was a porn movie. And it's like, oh my God, and you have to constantly apologize for it. I just don't want it to get in the way of them giving adequate treatment. And they're so professional and patient.
And I think every nurse that I have ever dealt with in terms of my family members, you're a hero to me. I don't care. Their patience is unbelievable. And I've had a few of those moments myself of apologizing, shaking my head. My gosh, my eyes roll back in my head sometimes. Oh, but they know. They all know.
Yeah, that's not their first rodeo.
It isn't.
Fully aware of it.
But it feels like it to you,
Oh, for me, and I think for many of my siblings, we were knee deep in this thing for 3 years, and we still are with my dad. It is a unique opportunity to kind of get to know your parent, and I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice.
I'm grateful that my parents chose their children to go through this with them rather than to hide, which I think a lot of people do. They just kind of go into a cave. It's such a level of intimacy to see the health records, to make these decisions with them while they're capable, and then for them when the time comes. You said the thing about nurses. When the nurses were coming and the other professionals were coming to the house, I don't know if I've ever seen more fantastic people in my life. I could not believe, not just the professional care, but I was really confused in the last couple of days of my mom's life, and I called one of the nurses. Mm-hmm. And he was on the Bay Bridge going home. He had 6 kids. He was a father, right? He turned around and came back to Redwood City, and he sat with my mom. And it was amazing. Just a phenomenal guy. The day my mother passed away, the nurse that was supposed to be there that morning, she got there on time. My mother had died right before she got there. And she literally went outside and directed traffic so that the different people could get in there for my mother. To see people that good at caring is refreshing. It was a kind of circle of life where it brought our family together. The 2 days before my mom died, I think the majority of her grandchildren were in her house eating pizza. She was in her bed. I don't think she knew what the heck was going on, but everybody was there. And hopefully my father's got, I don't know what a long time is at 90, but he's got more time on the clock, but it brought my family together like a team so that we could support him in the last couple of years of his life.
And I think that's what happens. It goes one way or the other. You get closer, or it can go the opposite. I think that shows that your parents did something right in that you're all a cohesive family unit to do that. And I think you put a positive spin on something that can be really aggravating, really difficult, really frustrating. I think a lot of us deal with those parents that keep you at bay, not want to get you involved. And then at some point, it's either up to us to say, well, I'm coming in whether you open the door or not. I'm coming in. Or you know what? You want that door closed? I'm going to stay on the other side.
Everybody deals with it differently. So some of my siblings live close by, and then 2 of them live out of state. And everybody has a different relationship with the same parents.
Sure.
So I'm the oldest, And then I got this brother that's 18 years younger than me. We have the same parents, but they were very different.
Yes,
ages,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And everybody handles the death of their parent or the sicknesses and the illness and all that crap differently. So the brothers, my sister lives out of state. Well, we would have, it started out monthly and then it got to almost weekly for a while. We'd meet on Saturdays. One of my brothers, Paul, would do all the finances and I'd update everybody on the health status. So there was a constant flow of information. And then we agreed, or we at least discussed, that not everybody was going to do this the same.
Yes.
And to not be petty with each other. That's what our wives are for. You want to complain? Complain to your wife. Don't complain here.
Right.
Don't point fingers and don't say somebody's not doing this or doing that, because it's important for us to kind of keep this thing together. During this time, the chaos of all this, my niece got married. We got my mom to that, which was like, holy crap. It was like took an act of God.
Aww.
Thank goodness for the caregivers. And then my daughter got married and included my mother, talked to her on the phone about all that kind of stuff. It was beautiful. A bad event reveals the character of a person.
I agree.
And not everybody's going to do it the same. And you can't point a finger. If you want to keep your family together the best you can, you got to be forgiving. One of my children has been helping us take care of my father. I never would have thought that he would be able to do that. And holy Moses, can he do it? And I mean, it's amazing how everybody does what makes them comfortable, and it shouldn't be graded or scaled, although my mother would grade and scale everything.
Well, I think that's the greatest gift that you can give your parents, is that you get along with your siblings, because I remember having my two boys go at it and just being worried, like, these two are so different. I don't know if they're ever going to like each other. I don't know if they're ever going to get along. And it was such a horrible feeling to think that the two people I love the most don't like each other. That is absolutely the worst feeling. And as a mother, thinking, that's the best gift you could have given your mom. That's the best legacy that you can leave with your kids. You don't have to like them all the time, but you do have to come together for these certain things. And what a great gift all of you have given your parents.
I agree totally. My siblings were very different. We had common experiences, but we all came out really super different. And what my mother's death and my father's illness has shown me is the real assets my brothers and my sister are. And nobody's perfect, right? But each one of those guys and my sister really showed me a side of them that I don't know if I ever would have seen had this not happened. And I've seen this now in my own kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And it does make a difference. Like when my youngest goes and visits my dad now for just 10 minutes, and it's all he'll talk about for the next week. I mean, my goodness, my mother, when Cecily called and told her that she was going to get engaged to Matt, it was amazing. The look on her face, right? It takes so little to be kind, and you get so much in return. And hopefully it plays out moving forward.
Thank you for talking to me. Thanks for sharing, because it's difficult. We're all going to go through it. We're all going to lose our parents at some point, trying to manage your own life, manage your own medical issues. Most people are dealing with at least something at this age, plus dealing with their parents. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for
thank you, Carla,
for sharing.
Yeah.
And I'll have you back on when we are scrounging for an episode. I'm going to make all my friends use their husbands shamelessly for.
All right. Well, look, take it easy, okay?
You too. Thanks, Jim.
Right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself? And
I am Ivy Villegas. We went to high school together. You're a couple of years behind me, but we crossed over into the same social circle quite a bit. I am 61, and I am an empty nester. I live with my mom, and I've been there almost 8 years, helping take care of her. First, it was both parents, And then my dad passed away 3 years ago. So I've been with my mom, and my mom will be 101 next month. Yeah. And still very cognizant, has all her wits about her. She can hear, I feel like I'm always yelling, but I'm pretty much a yeller anyway. Yeah. So she's very good. She does very well. She's very self-sufficient. She's in a wheelchair now because she broke her hip a couple of years ago, but she gets around. We don't have to push her everywhere. She goes to the bathroom by herself. She has caregivers that come in the morning from 8 to 12 or 8 to 2, depending on what day it is. And I'm lucky enough to work from home. So during those hours, I'm in my room, door closed, me and Levi, my sidekick, we're in my bedroom and I'm taking calls and doing whatever I need to do. We started off in COVID where people were working from home, and then people started going back to the office, and they started mandating that everybody go back to the office 2 or 3 days a week. But I had special accommodations for my mom. So I go in maybe once a week, and that's mostly just to socialize with people. It works out really well, and I'm there, but I don't have to pay attention because otherwise I'm back and forth or trying to help my mom. I'm afraid she's going to, get up and try to reach something in the kitchen and fall over, whatever. Yeah. So it works out great. We've been so lucky to have awesome caregivers, and they work out really well. My mom becomes friends with them, and my mom is not your typical 100-year-old. One of the reasons she has lived so long, I'm sure, is because of her faith and her positive outlook. I mean, she lives life through rose-colored glasses.
Really?
And I wish I was more like that. Yeah. She's kind of naive and, she's not sheltered, but it was always family, and that's her main thing. And that's kind of what she taught us. And you can do anything with family or faith. I have faith, but not nearly as strong as hers. Yeah. And she has no fear of anything. She doesn't really stress. She just is happy all the time. So I have a lot of cousins, and they come visit her, and she's the only one left. So my dad, his brothers, sisters are all gone. He was the only one left, and then he passed away 3 years ago. That side kind of petered out.
Yeah.
I still have cousins, of course. But my mom's side, she had 8 siblings. So 7 sisters, 1 brother. And she was smack in the middle, and they've all passed away.
Wow.
So she's been the only one left for, approximately 2 years.
Wow.
So, everybody is gone. She still has a few friends, but she doesn't get out much. Her big excursions are going out to the dock.
So how many siblings do you have?
Well, there was 5 of us originally, and now I just have 1 brother and 1 sister.
Okay.
My sister passed away from cancer almost 3 years ago. So her and my dad died within 3 weeks of each other.
Oh,
so that was rough.
God.
And then I had an older brother who passed away, had a massive heart attack 8.5 years ago. So he was gone by the time I moved in, but he used to help him a lot too. Everybody except my oldest sister, who lived in Phoenix, was here in Hollister.
Okay.
So it worked out well.
So you had a lot of help with them in the early times when they were getting
More
older.
help.
Yeah,
More
more
help.
help. Yeah.
And my sister, Elsie, who's 5 years older than me, she had been taking care of all of their doctor's appointments, financial, all of that for probably like 10 years before that, when they were in their early 80s. So she helped out. She was the main person for many, many years. So when my dad, when they were 92, and they're both within 3 months of each other, when he was 92, he fell between the couch and the recliner, and he got twisted up and he fell. And so he went to maybe for about 2 months.
The convalescent home.
The convalescent, right. And then he got better. His leg kind of healed, and he used a walker, and he came back home. And that's when we knew that they could no longer live together. They were both 92. And it was really more that my mom couldn't handle my dad anymore. She was getting tired. But up until then, she was fine. Myself and my brother and sisters got together, and we're like, okay, what are we going to do? And at that time, I was the only one who was not married and didn't own my own home. My kids were still kind of young. My son was 14. My daughter was 12. And it kind of made sense for me to move back in with them because it was easiest for me.
And did you feel pressured?
I felt pressured because, well, I guess it's going to be me. And then I also was, Hispanic families, very close-knit. My kids were very close to my mom and my dad as an extension, but really close to my mom. And I thought, oh, this will be good for them to live with their grandparents. And my parents, mostly speak Spanish. So I was like, great opportunity for them to learn Spanish and live there, and it'll be better. So that was in late 2018. And it became more and more difficult with my dad because he had dementia a little bit. And it progressed over the years. But back then it was just starting. We really had to watch him and take care of him. Sometimes I would go to the bathroom and there would be, poop smeared on the toilet. And sometimes he would pee or poop his pants. And then he had to start wearing the diapers. And he just started getting worse and stopped remembering things. But he was still very coherent. But the whole thing of that was like, oh my God, I didn't sign up for this bullshit.
Yeah.
Living with them, taking care of them. And at that time, we could still leave them alone, go out and do stuff. But we always want to make sure someone was there at night and somebody was there watching. Yeah. So I still had all of my kids' activities. So I was running around doing that. So my brother or sister would come in and take care of them. I'd give them, this is the schedule for, Layla's field hockey, or this is the schedule for Anton's trek. And they would come in and take care of them while I was out and about with my kids. That was my one caveat when I moved in to my brothers and sisters. And I said, look, I am not going to miss one game. I am not going to miss, one activity. The kids come first. If I have something, you guys will have to fill in. I'm just going to give you a schedule and that'll happen. And they were very good about that. We kind of continued on. Well, then COVID hit 2020, and the 5 of us were stuck at home. Kids doing distance learning, parents occupying all of our time. We were all in there, and it got really hard. Yeah. And my dad, his dementia was progressing. At that point, I was getting really kind of depressed because I was basically at home with 4 kids, 2 toddlers, which are my parents, and then my kids. And so I was like a kind of a raving lunatic for a while. And I started getting bitter, and I started saying, this sucks and I have no life now and poor me. And I was going overboard on the poor me probably, but it was really hard.
You don't expect to be taking care of your parents and your children at the same time. You really don't. I didn't grow up that way.
No.
And you probably didn't grow up that way. No, I did not. And so if you know that ahead of time, maybe you can be a little more prepared, but
you're not really prepared until you get there. And then as they get older, and my dad got harder, and it was just like I was getting mad, and I was complaining all the time and telling my brothers and sisters, this sucks, and oh my God, it's terrible. And they would obviously fill in when they could, but you don't really get it until you're living there, 24/7, and especially during COVID when nobody went anywhere. So my escape was drink. And I've always drank, always liked to drink, but socially mostly. But we started with friends and with coworkers. We started doing the Zoom happy hour. It became a nightly thing almost for whoever was available. And usually somebody was available. And I would drink and not pass out, but drink till it was time to go to bed. And then I was loud, and my kids would, well, we're trying to sleep, and they would come in, and my parents didn't hear anything, of course. And, I would wake up and I would not be hungover, but I would be dragging ass. Yeah. I was off work for about 6 weeks, and then I started working remotely. So that really helped. I stopped the happy hours in the evening, but on the weekends, we would still continue to do it. And I, Butch and Fred, who are you're behind me.
Yeah.
We developed this kind of special relationship. Now we're on a text thread all the time, but I would call them at all hours because, they were up too or whatever. And we would drink and talk.
Yeah.
It gave me an outlet to the outside world again.
Yes.
Even though we were still home. And it was really hard with my kids with distance learning. So I was not a pleasant person to be around at that time. Yeah. I was always dragging ass because I was drinking so much. Yeah. And by that time, my son was driving. He was 16, and he started sneaking out and doing God knows what. I don't even want to know what he was doing. But then I started catching him, and we went rounds. And then my mom, that's her grandson, who she loves dearly. So she was telling me, oh, don't yell at Anton. He's a kid. It's the age. And I'm like, you yelled at us. Yeah. You yelled at us nonstop. So I don't want to hear it. Of course, that was 40, 50 years ago. So she's going, it was a different time. I didn't know better. You know better.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
be nice to my mijo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then I'm like, what the fuck? These are my kids. I'm going to raise them the way and I am a strict parent. And when COVID started, they were going half time to their dad and half time to me. And when COVID came and my parents were in their mid-90s, my ex-husband and I decided that it would be better for them to stay with me so as not to expose my parents to the outside world as much. Right. So that was kind of a blessing in disguise because then I had it was a blessing and not a blessing because I had him full time. So I was the only parent and I was single parenting and I've been single parenting ever since because they never really went back to him after that. As they got older, they didn't, they were mostly with their friends. Right. So it had its pluses and it had its minuses and they made my parents happy. There was life in the house. There was kids, they thrived on them. My mom wanted to continue spoiling them. And at that time, she still cooked and she would make them all their special foods that they liked. Then COVID was over and I kind of went back to work and we started that again. And then my dad fell in the shower and broke his leg, even though he had a caregiver. He was 96, 97. So we couldn't take care of him 24/7. He still weighed probably 175 pounds or something. We couldn't take care of him 24/7. So he went to maybe after he broke his leg and never came back. Passed away 2 years later. Dementia had fully taken effect by that time. He always thought I was his sister who had passed away, but he always recognized my mom. And he would get super happy. But then he was not even able to speak anymore. That got really hard. It was very difficult because being home with my mom all the time, going to see him, you're kind of going back and forth and you don't know. It's like, fuck, everybody needs me. My kids still need me. When do I get some me time?
Right. How was your mom feeling about seeing your dad like that? Was that really hard for her?
Yeah. She had a hard time, but it was also kind of a little bit of relief because he was getting harder and harder to take care of. And it's no fun changing a diaper on an adult.
No.
You change the diapers on your kids. That's your kid.
Right.
It doesn't smell as bad.
It's tiny.
Yeah. They're cute.
Yeah.
98-year-old. Yeah. He was kind of cute, but not that cute. And so he passed away almost 3 years ago. He's 98. Blessing in disguise. His quality of life was just not there. And we started kind of tapering off on the visits because he didn't recognize us. Yeah. So we would go for 10, 15 minutes and he didn't know any different. And there's so much guilt when your parents are older and you're trying to take, everything is guilt. You feel guilt for everything. Guilt that you're not there more or guilt that you can't do more. I don't know, just guilt for everything. Yeah. Guilt for losing patience. That was the huge thing. And I was constantly beating myself up because I'm like, oh my God, I know I'm drinking too much. I know I'm impatient because I'm drinking too much.
Right. It's a cycle.
I'm in a depression. And at that time, I went to my doctor and I was like, I need something. I'm too depressed. I'm not thinking suicidal thoughts or anything even close to that. Right. But I feel like I'm down in the dumps all the time. And she put me on an antidepressant because then menopause hit. We settled into life with just my mom. Right. It became a lot easier because my mom, like I said, is very self-sufficient. Still to this day, get out of bed. She can put herself into bed. We help her change into her pajamas. Her care providers help her do everything. She doesn't do much anymore. She finds it very difficult. She loved to read, and she finds it very difficult to read now because her eyes get really tired really fast. She can't see as well. And everything that comes with that age. My mom actually never drove, so.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, 5 kids, never drove. She did start driving before the kids were born. She was driving. And then my dad got a new car, said, granted, this was in the 50s. My dad got a new car, said, I don't want you driving the new car. I don't want you to wreck it. So she never drove again. Yeah. I can't believe it now. But that's just the way we lived. Town was so small. Life was so small. We went off and took off and we were gone for hours. Nobody knew where we were.
You could ride your bike everywhere in Hollister.
We rode our bike everywhere. Exactly. After my dad passed, it became much easier. So my mom, she doesn't have major health issues, but she has gone through. She had a heart attack at about 87.
Oh.
At 88, she had uterine cancer. So she had surgery and they took out her uterus. And then she had a stroke at 92, but she just kept bouncing back. And we're like, oh my God, this woman is superwoman. Just when we think the end is near.
Right.
No. She kept bouncing back, which is like, what the fuck? Why did she keep bouncing back? We didn't want to leave her alone at that point. We would leave her alone. So I don't leave her alone unless somebody is there, my brother or my sister, or she's napping. And she takes two-hour naps a day. So she sleeps quite a bit. So I can run to the store. I can do, something. So that gave me a little more freedom once my dad went into maybe. But I was still there all the time and only getting out for my kids' activities and sports and all that. So then my son went down to San Luis Obispo for college, and my daughter was entering her freshman year. And there was a lot of pluses to moving back in with my parents. And the biggest one was their dad started having less and less to do with them and did not help at all as far as college expenses. Since I didn't have a mortgage or pay rent or whatever, I was really able to help my son so he wouldn't have huge student loans or anything. It became one of those blessings in disguise that I was living at home again with my parents. And that went well. And then my daughter was in high school and all of her activities, which still kept me going. And about 3.5 years ago, I decided drinking was not in my favor any longer. And it was no longer fun. And it was just, I was drinking by myself to drink away what I thought were all my issues of being trapped at home. And that's what it was. I felt like I was trapped. I was Miss Spontaneity. Let's run, do this, whatever. And all that stopped. So people would say, oh, let's go out to dinner or let's go see a movie. I'm like, oh, I can't. Nobody's here to stay with my mom. And I really would not put it on my kids because I'm like, they're in high school. They don't need to be watching their grandparents. That's not their responsibility. Their responsibility is to take care of me when I'm older. So at some point, I couldn't do a lot, or I would have to, in advance, tell my sister or my brother, hey, I want to do this, or I have plans to do this. Can somebody cover for me? And they would come over, and sure enough, my sister is amazing about it, and she's very helpful. And my brother, when we tell him, hey, I need you to come stay with mom for a couple hours while I do this. Or it came to the point where I would plan vacations for me and the kids 3-4 months in advance. I would say, this is the week of the vacation. Figure out a schedule for take care of mom. And they were very good about that. And it also allowed them a glimpse into what my everyday life was. And they would be like, oh, I don't know how you can stand it. And now I've been there for 8 years. Here I am still standing it. But again, it's a lot better. We only had care providers coming in during the week for 4 hours in the morning from like 8 to 12. And so I was kind of main caregiver after that. And that was when it was really starting to get to me too. And that was when I decided, okay, I can't drink anymore. So I stopped kind of cold turkey. Now it's been 3.5 years and
That's amazing.
I just never drank again. Which has been a really positive experience because it was getting to the point where I was like, not ruining relationships, but making them harder because I'd get drunk and be stupid. And it's one thing when you're the life of the party in your 20s and you're funny and whatever, not so attractive in your 50s. Yeah. And one time I remember, God, I think I was like 54 and I almost got in a fight at Johnny's. And I'm like... What is this who I want to be? Is this what my life has become? My God. So all of these little things.
Right.
And it was also stressing my kids out because they would see mom drunk and that, no. Yeah. And now I think about it, I'm like, what in the fuck was wrong with me? And I can say it was, my circumstances or whatever, but those are all excuses. I chose to do it. So I chose to stop.
First of all, let me commend you. I mean, in all seriousness, that is really, really difficult. It is not easy.
It really is.
And you are kind of brushing over the difficulty of it, which I get, but it's not easy. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult. And I had tried to really taper down, and that would work for a while, but I never fully quit. Of course, I quit when I was pregnant both times, but there was a big reason for that, obviously. But after that, I would still go have my me time with my friends, and we would, drink our wine or have our cocktails or whatever. And everybody drinks everywhere.
Yes.
And I had to remove myself for a while from certain friendships that I knew I would be enticed to drink. And I drank for about 3 months. I drank non-alcoholic beers just to kind of get used to the motions or lose the continuity of always having a drink in my hand if I was at a social occasion. So I would always take my non-alcoholics if I was getting together with people and stuff. And it was fine. I didn't feel the need to drink after that. And that was kind of the buffer between cold turkey and to continue.
And you said something before we started recording, but your brain changes when you stop drinking.
I was getting to the point where it was like, whoo, made it through the week. It's Friday. I'm going to drink.
Yes, yes.
And you go out with friends, really, when you're in your 50s, hey, let's go out and have a drink. Or, hey, I haven't seen you so long, we should go out for a drink. And people will still say that to me this day. Yeah. And I'll say, okay. And of course, I'll have a mocktail or a non-alcoholic. Right. But most of the time I just drink, a water or something. People know I don't drink anymore and I haven't drank, but they still say, oh, what do you want to drink? I always take my, my bubbly waters or my flavored waters with me wherever I go. And I just say, oh, no, I brought my own. So I don't even talk about alcohol. Yeah. But the other day I went out with some friends. We went out to Dam Vineyards to listen to music on Sundays and you sit out there. And they're like, oh, there's 3 of us, so let's just get a bottle of wine. And I don't even say anything anymore. Yeah. I just go, okay. And drink my flavored waters. And they're like, do you want some? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, you guys, you know I don't drink and I haven't drank for a long time.
Well, I think sometimes too that there's a little bit of discomfort for other people because it can shine a light on their own. And I'm not saying that's your friends. I don't know even who you're talking about. And I've been in that situation where I've been around people. It's a night where I plan, I'm going to have 2 or 3 cocktails, but there's a person there not drinking. And you have to reflect at that moment, is this something that I want to do in front of this person? Just good job. Because it's not easy. And hopefully a lot of people told you that it's a big deal.
It was a big deal because if I haven't talked to someone in a while and I say I don't drink anymore, they're like, what? Because like I said, I was always drinking, life of the party, ha, 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 loud, and I am like that anyway. So it was just amplified by 10 when I drank.
Yeah. And that was the culture. I mean, definitely. I'm sure every high school, but our high school for sure, if it was a Friday, Saturday, you were getting fucked up. It's a big deal. And it does change your view on the world. And so I think that probably helped, right?
Okay, it's not so much poor me. It's what I'm making of it. I choose what I make of my life. And I started seeing a therapist, too, to help me out. And she never held back. And she would tell me exactly the truth, which is what I needed. And she would be like, no, you're making a decision that you're trapped. You need to rely more on your brother, sister, and do more stuff and plan more things. And I'm like, I hate to plan things. I was always the planner of my friends. I planned everything. And then when my kids were young, I planned everything. And I'm tired of planning things. So I was more into spontaneity. But now I can't be spontaneous. Or my sister comes over every Saturday or every Sunday. And she's always like, oh, I'm going to come over this time. Do you have plans? A couple hours if you want to do something or whatever. Yeah. Which is great. And also now, at this age, I am not going out all the time anymore. I'm going to stay home. I start work at 6:00. So I go to bed at, 8:30, 9, and I get up at 5:30. Yeah. So, and then on the weekends, my granddog has to go out. And then my mom goes to bed at 8:00 and she gets up at between 6 and 6:30. Yeah. So I need to make her coffee and my coffee and all that. So I'm an early bird and I used to be a total night owl. No more.
No, I would say it's sad, but let's have a positive spin on it. It's just the way life works.
It's the way life changes. And you know what? I don't want to stay up late anymore. I don't want to be tired. And because it affects you so much. You could rally before.
I know.
In your 30s, even in your 40s. Once you hit the 60s, there's no rallying.
No.
I just feel like shit all day. I'm tired.
Yep, exactly.
So, it takes an act of God or something really special occasion for me to stay out late.
Yeah. I agree. And there's a comfort in that of being like, okay, this is who I am now. And it's okay that I go to bed at 8:30 and I can record Dateline and I can watch it tomorrow in the afternoon when I won't fall asleep.
I don't even watch TV. I always read. During COVID, both years, I read over 120 books.
Wow.
That year. Yeah. Voracious reader. I've always been a big reader.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't watch TV.
Wow.
So,
good for you.
Yeah.
Good for
now
you.
It's tapered down a little bit. But again, books were my escape too. And drinking and reading was even better until I started forgetting what I read.
I was going to say, I can't read when I'm drunk because I will not remember a thing.
I would sit down with a good book and, a double IPA.
There you go.
I was big into beer.
Well, thank you so much for coming. All my friends are dealing with their aging parents, but none of them have taken that step to move in with them. And like you said, it's cultural, right? But
that's what you do for family.
But it's still
and
really difficult.
The way we were raised, it is. And it's a very rude awakening. It took me years to stop feeling sorry for myself. And everybody, when they find out my mom's 100, tell me how lucky I am. Well, I'm sorry. I said, oh, yeah. I just say, oh, yeah. But every once in a while I say, no, it's not all luck. Sometimes it's actually kind of bad luck. But then I feel really guilty again.
Right. Guilt,
because
yes.
a lot of my friends have lost their parents. Or one time somebody said, oh, you're so lucky to still have your mom. And I said, it's not luck. It's like kind of like a curse. And she said, my mom passed away 2 months ago from cancer. And I'm like, fuck, I'm a dick. I'm so sorry. But again, everybody's circumstances are different.
The things that we get prepared for as children, I've said this so many times, we got the talk in 4th grade as girls or whatever grade it was, like, this is how your body's going to change. We all watched the movie just in case our moms didn't have that conversation. And yet when we're in high school, they're like, okay, we're going to have you change an old person's diaper right now because this is where you're going to be in 50 years. No, absolutely not.
And then you think your parents are going to live forever. And I don't know about you, but when my parents were 60, they were freaking old. I'm not.
Yes,
so,
agree.
Yeah, and
agree.
You don't realize the older you get. Now we get together with friends and it's like you talk about your aches and pains. I never thought I'd be that person.
No, me either.
Here we are.
Me either. My mom used to complain, your grandma, she only talks about the obituaries. Guess what I find myself doing? Oh, looking in the obituaries.
Yep.
And going, what? He died at 65? That's so young.
So young. A friend will tell me, my parents passed away when they were 95. I'm like, so young?
I'm going to end it right there. That's going to be like the perfect... Thank you for joining me in this week's conversations. Special thanks to Vanessa Graziano, James Clifford, and Ivy Villegas for sharing the intimate details and emotions involved in caring for elderly parents. While this is one of our first episodes that explores the issue of aging parents, it will not be our last. Check back in for some real doozies about the greatest generation. Thank you for listening to Gen X TrustFall. For more information about any episodes, or if you have a suggestion for a potential guest, check out our website at genxtrustfall.com. Gen X TrustFall is produced by me and the recording master, Ryan Loomis, at Double Banger Studio. Music by Ryan and Sam. Website and advisory by Amy Clifford.